evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on top stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. A wave of shock and outrage has swept through the Mankangong community in Bafut following the alleged extrajudicial killing of Su Jun, popularly known as Jun Makun. Eyewitnesses describe it as a terrifying scene in which military agents from La Republic de Cameroon stormed Jun Makun's home, demanding money and fatally shooting him in front of his wife and children. The incident, which unfolded with 6 armored vehicles descending upon the community, has left residents reeling. The alleged actions of the military against and agents have sparked intense scrutiny, with many questioning the rule of law and the conduct of security forces in the area. The brutal killing has ignited a firestorm of protest and demands for accountability. The community is united in its call for a thorough investigation and justice for Jean Makun's family. This incident raises a disturbing question about the relationship between security forces and civilians in the area. Is this a case of rogue agents or a symptom of a deeper problem? The answer will be crucial in determining the future of community trust and cooperation. As the investigation unfolds, the community will be watching closely for signs of progress and accountability. Will justice be served, or will these tragic events become just another statistics in a larger narrative or human rights abuses? Oh well, we'll definitely watch and see how all of this unfolds, and we'll definitely delve into this tonight and even more stories. But first, let's get the prime headlines. All right, tonight we'll start with the colonial government forces murdering a local businessman in Bafut before his family. Abdul Karim Ali's legal team has announced that they will appeal for his life imprisonment by La Republic de Cameroon Military Tribunal. Also tonight, we'll take a look at the several structures, including homes and shops, that have gone in flames at Bakweri Town in Buea. Buea students tricked La Republic de Cameroon to support Dictator Biya's 2025 candidacy. Also tonight, tensions arise in Burkina Faso after foiled coup attempt. Russia to fund new nuclear plant in Iran amidst threatening ties. Now let's get the news in full details. The community of Mankangong in Bafut is in deep mourning after the tragic death of Su Jun, known as Jean Makun. He was shot dead by military agents from La Republic de Cameroon in the presence of his wife and children. Eyewitnesses report that Colonial military agents stormed his home in 6 armored vehicles and demanded money before dragging him outside and executing him. In Mankangong, Bafut, Su Jun's family is struggling to cope with the circumstances surrounding his violent death at the hands of La Republic de Cameroon's government forces. Makun, a well-respected businessman and father of 3, was known for his kindness and dedication to helping others. On the morning of 26 April, Soldiers reportedly arrived at Malcolm's home in six armored vehicle. They knocked on the door and he welcomed them inside, offering them drinks since he owned a bar. However, the situation escalated when the colonial soldiers began to interrogate him and his wife. They demanded money, which Malcolm provided. After pretending to leave, some soldiers returned, dragging him outside while his family looked on. He was violently beaten in front of his wife and children. Witnesses reported hearing gunshots shortly after he was taken outside. One observer mentioned in an instant, "We heard the shots and Jean was gone." Following the killing, family members reported that the soldiers claimed they had been sent by someone to carry out the act. They even stopped at a nearby market afterwards and told the crowd that a villager had ordered them to kill Markham. They insisted that they, the colonial military, should not be seen as the enemy, implying that it was a local person's decision that led to the execution. Till now, reasons was given for the order, nor was the identity of the villager revealed. But according to villagers, the disease had had a significant impact in the Malcolm community, transitioning from a small trader to a successful business owner, running a snack bar that served as a gathering place for local youth and a source of support for those in need. Unfortunately, the incident is not unique. There have been numerous reports of extrajudicial killings by La Republic de Cameroon's rebellious military forces in all three zones of Amazonia. Past incidents, such as the Pinyin massacre, which resulted in the death of several unarmed civilians, and the Ngabo massacre in 2022, where at least 21 civilians were killed, are still fresh in the minds of the community members. This is very sad. Killing a man in front of his wife and children. What kind of life will the children live for? How will they see life from now henceforth? How will they perceive the military? Who will they call father at this point? Oh, well, Barrister Mbeseha, in-house analyst, is here. And while the questions I asked are begging for answers, Barrister Mbeseha, this can be said to be a regular occurrence in Amazonia since the war began. Sometimes they are accused of being in charge of the ASA fighters or being the ones that are shielding or giving shelter to the ASA. But in this particular case, there was no reason. All we just know is that they were invited, they got into a home, took the man out, and got him killed in the presence of his family. Very, very sad occurrence. Barrister Mbesia, how much more can the people take?
Well, thank you once more for asking that question. How much more and how many more killings shall we tolerate? You see, the problem is not that this is happening, because it has been happening forever. Mention examples. Pinyin, massacre. Ngalabu, people were massacred. Lawrence Ayaf was killed right there in Bamenda. So it is established conduct. It is undeniable, if the facts are true, that these people came in government troops, in government vehicles, they're using government guns, armored cars, and then they outrightly kill this person, which they've been doing before. That's what they did in Benin, that's what they did in Galvin. And so doing this forever, the question we should ask ourselves is simply, how should we tolerate this? And especially to Bamen, how long can we do this in that our community? It's too much. We can no longer take it. Where are the peace crossers? Where are the politicians who called environmental senators, parliamentarians, councils, including bishops and pastors, who have been talking about
Seems we're having some technical hitches there. Barrister Mbeseha, are you there? All right. We'll definitely come back to Barrister Mbeseha. A very sad story here. Let's take a look at the Abdul Karim Ali's story. Well, this report here says that Abdul Karim Ali's legal team has announced a day have appealed his life imprisonment by La Republic to Cameroon Military Tribunal. Well, in an exclusive interview, Barrister Joseph Awafu, the lead counsel for Abdul Karim, provided insight into the defense strategy and the broader implication of the case. Let's start with the challenge to jurisdiction. Abdul Karim was abducted in Bamenda, the chief town of the Midland Zone of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, and later transferred to the Colonial State Secretariat for Defense. He was held incommunicado for months and later transferred to the Colonial Condengue Maximum Security Prison. His lawyer and many rights advocates have persistently challenged the process. To them, he was abducted as there was no arrest warrant or probable cause. He was later convicted on charges related to terrorism. However, his legal team, in contesting the court's authority to try him at all, Karim's defense hinges on his claim of not being a citizen of the Republic of Cameroon. Barrister Fu said, "This is not a mere political statement, it forms the legal foundation of the team's appeal." Barrister Fu has already filed the appeal, which aims to contest the Colonial Military Tribunal's jurisdiction over Karim. He says, "We are emphasizing his assertion of non-citizenship. If he is not a citizen of La Republic of Cameroon, the court's jurisdiction over him is fundamentally questionable," he said. Now, when it comes to the question of identity, the claim that Abdul Karim is not a citizen of La Republic of Cameroon taps into long-standing tension. The dispute is between the La Republic of Cameroon and former British Southern Cameroons. Amazonia, which was the former Southern Cameroons before 1st of October 1961. That is being contested. Many activities from these areas have historically resisted full integration into La Republic of Cameroon, citing cultural, political, and historical grievances. And so, the matter before the court is not just about one man's freedom. This is what Barrister Free is saying. He says it touches on the broader question of national identity and the rights of individuals to assert that identity in the face of a judicial system they do not recognize. That is the second one. And so the third is the strength amid adversity. So, despite receiving a life sentence, Abdul Karim remains steadfast, according to his lawyers. Barrister Fu said he is strong and resolute in his belief. He understands the stake and is prepared to continue the fight through legal channels. Impressive. We have critical legal questions. Karim's legal position is not without its challenges, for all we know. However, evidence suggests that before his abduction, Abdul Karim has been held and used La Republic the Cameroon identification documents, including national ID cards and passport legally. The possession and use of such documents strongly imply acceptance of La Republic of Cameroon citizenships. That's on the other side. And so legal experts know that courts often apply the principle of estoppel. Individuals who have benefited from citizenship rights, such as international travel or access to public services, may not later deny that citizenship when facing persecution. Moreover, there has been no public record of Abdul Karim formally renouncing La Republic of Cameroon citizenship before his abduction, nor has there been legal recognition of an alternative nationality. That's what they are saying. So this complicates the defense argument. This is from a human rights lawyer familiar with the case. And he said this complicates the defense argument with the case, speaking anonymously. He says political objections to citizenships are different from legal renunciations. Courts typically look at what the person did before the arrest, not what the person claimed afterwards. But in addition, La Republic de Cameroon has not invoked the principle of universal jurisdiction, which allows states to try individuals for certain crimes regardless of nationality. So the colonial government maintains that it is exercising domestic legal authority over an or over its own citizen accused of terrorism in its soil. So at this point, someone will be asking, so what is estupel? Estupel is a legal principle that prohibits an individual from reversing their prior statements or actions if others have relied on them. Given that Abdul Karim used La Republic de Cameroon's passport and identification documents before his arrest, this principle could potentially apply in his case. But Barrister Mbeseha is here and he will definitely clarify us on that. So legally, Estopel may prevent Karim's claiming from claiming he's not a La Republic to Cameroon citizen after benefiting from rights associated with citizenships. All right, is at this point would take a pause and get into some of these implication. We have the fact that Barrister Fru has said he is a citizen of the southern Cameroons and Amazonia because of the existing history that dates back to 1961. And then there is a case of Estopel, where the lawyers and the team of lawyers in charge of Abdul Karim be able to have a reversal in this life imprisonment, regardless of what Estopel says or regardless of what the history of Ambazonians at this point, which would be the right cause for Abdul Karim. Well, Barrister Mbeseha, you were yet to conclude on our first report, but we noticed you had some technical hitches, so we decided to delve into the story of Abdul Karim. I'm sure that you would also want to do this report as well extensively as a legal mind. To get into this sensitive discussion.
Thank you for having me once more. I'm sorry for the breakdown in coming. So, talk about the incident. Getting me? Are you getting me?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yes. Before the breakdown in communication, we're talking about the incident in Bafut, and I was saying that this is not that they killed somebody in Bafut because they've killed people before. They've killed people in Garbu, shot them live. They've killed people in Pinin, did all that. They killed Florence Ayaf. These are ever taken place before this one in Bafut. So the say is, what are those people in Bamenda saying? What are Ambazonians saying about these killings? Are they expecting government action? The excuse that a villager sent somebody or anybody sent people to come and kill is the worst thing you can ever say. Nobody has the right to command you, and most importantly, to command the Cameroon army to go kill someone else. It's irrelevant. That's not a defense. The issue, as I've said, is what are the mayors, what are the governors, what are the prefects, the politicians in Bamenda, senators, what are they saying about all these things? Keep quiet. What are the pastors, the priests, the bishops who have been telling us of a return to normalcy saying about these things? They keep quiet. If somebody died in Bamenda, anywhere, and was suspected to have been killed by an armed fighter, they call it, you find the priests and bishops crying foul. They will sing it in their churches. You find the governors and administrators everywhere crying foul. Why are they keeping silent over this one, which has no challenge to it? There's no doubt about that. They came in armored cars and did what they did. They shot the man live. It was in daylight. And so, why are these people keeping quiet? The central issue is, shall we ever continue to bear this? How long can we bear this type of nonsense? Extrajudicial killings are outlawed everywhere in the world, in the civilized world. And so, this should not happen to us. This is only evidence for us to fight, because we should never have found ourselves in this sort of mess where somebody would come with guns in plain daylight, guns bought by taxpayers' money, armed by ourselves, to come and execute someone else. What is extrajudicial killing? That is being killed without any justice to follow, without any procedure. I'm sure they've even abolished death by firing squad in Cameroon. And so coming to shoot people like that is illegal. It is part of the complaint that we file, for example, at the ICC. And again, it is part of the public indictment of what people have been telling us normalcy has returned. No normalcy has returned. The place is as unsafe as nothing. They didn't even say that this guy who was killed was doing anything wrong. He lived in his house with his family. It doesn't matter where he was rich or poor, where he was an angry man or a happy person. They killed him. They should not kill him. They should not have killed you or me, no matter any circumstances. That is nonsense. It's unacceptable internationally. It is unacceptable nationally. And so that is only fuel for us to fight and free ourselves. Out of that, we'll go to the last segment we were talking about. The appeal, the sentencing appeal of Karim. It's a extra policy is important here. What is important is that they've sentenced somebody they don't like without any evidence, without trial, to life. I did ask you sometime before. If sentences they give in court, Ambazonians, always yes, sentence 10 years, 5 years, whatever length of time, or the best to life, depending upon who it is. They classify Ambazonians. The ones that be to the theories of one and indivisible Cameroon, and the one that pose minor risk. If we fall in that category of the top layer, that includes Tabe, Sitabe, and other, and 10 others, got another 10. And so this is where Abdul Karim falls. Lawyers say they will appeal. That's it. It is really as lawyers to appeal. You will appeal. You expect anything to cannot appeal. I don't believe anything will come out of it. Because it was not, when you appeal, you put online documents. I watched that lawyer saying that they will appeal. And the issue was, he's going to court to insist that Abdul Karim had said that he is not a Cameroonian. Well, I wonder what the judgment say, because they should have ruled on that point. But you expect them to rule and say that he's a Cameroonian. And so they will try him. You expect them to say something like that. It is not always right to say that because you are a foreigner, you cannot be tried in a different country. No. That's wrong. If you commit a crime as a foreigner in a different country, they will try you there. If a Frenchman came to Cameroon and killed someone under Buea, they will try him, Frenchman or Japanese. If a Cameroonian is in Nigeria and commits a crime, they will try you there. You will not say that you are not Nigerian. They will try you there. And so the most important issue is not whether he was Cameroonian or not. The most important thing which he raised legally, which is standing unanswered, even if a Japanese came to Cameroon, for example, and killed somebody in Bamenda or in Buea, would they take him to go and try him in Yaoundé? No, they won't take him to Yaoundé to try. They will try him in Bamenda or Buea. They try him where the offense occurred. To the best of it, Abdul Karim has never lived in Yaoundé. He lives in Bamenda. He lived in Bamenda all his life. We don't know what crimes he committed. But even if he committed any crime that was subject to trial, he should have been tried in the court in Bamenda. The very courts that are trying him in Kolengi are found in Bamenda. They have the civilian courts, magistrate courts, and so on. But we also have a military tribunal in Bamenda. And so if he must try in a military tribunal, special tribunal, carry somebody from Bamenda, Abdul Karim in particular, and carry him to Yaoundé. It is because they dictate the rules of the game. And so that is the first raised. The second issue he raised again is that it's not supposed to be tried in tribunal, which is G, whether it is in Bamenda, whether it is in Kolengi, where it is in Bafut. He was never a military guy. That's the national and international law. Cameroon has signed up to those treaties. That's she met in military tribunals. The international treaties, they become part of their national law. Their constitution states like that. So you have a good case based on the person. It should be dismissed if they appeal to see the day of light. But it wouldn't see the day because, as I've said, the categories of sentencing this ambassador struggle is concerned. Yes, and what does like Abdul Karim and they want to die? Certainly not. Life here is political language. You remain there as long as the struggle drags on. If tomorrow the battle is over, they will free all of them. Life here technically simply means for the life of the struggle. So their lawyers are free, the lawyers are free to launch their appeal. That's within their legal authority. But the appeal is what. I remember Siku and the rest were sent. They took appeal. I don't know where the appeal has never been heard. Even if it was said, what do you expect from the court? Nothing. It's a court dictated by the executive, just like the military tribunal. They are appointed by the president. They do the president's will. And in this particular instance, where they are doing the political will of the majority of Cameroonians. Remember, Ambazonians are a minority. What is the majority? The majority is Francophone. Which states, they all agree that Cameroon is one and indivisible. In other words, Ambazonians, like it or not, they make you part of them. And so they are doing the political will of them. Nobody will raise it in the Senate. Nobody will raise it in Parliament. And so it's a political trial which must be matched with a political defense. What political defense can we do? We have a political defense which I encourage this government in exile to do. We sensitize the public. We tell the world of what we are going through. Because our independence will come through our own effort. Our recognition from foreign partners, different countries. Not from Yaoundé, not by Buea. Because Buea himself, they are already there. The question of the form of state is not negotiable. It is something to be debated publicly. And so we have the arms to do it. Our arm is the political thing. What they are doing to Abdul Karim is purely political. It's not because Abdul Karim committed any crime. What they did to Sisiku before Abdul Karim was purely political. It was not because they committed any offense. Over to you.
Yeah, I was asking that this principle of estopel, do you think that it has any um, legal holding on the move by Abdul Karim's team at this point? In as much as Barrister Fru is emphasizing that there is none because this is an Amazonian based on his history, right from 1961 and all of that. They do not have the right to sentence him to life imprisonment. But that principle being there for the fact that he uses the passport and identity of La Republic to Cameroon, do you think that this can hold some kind of resistance, either against the team of lawyers who are making every effort to see what can come out of this, or for even him, Abdul Karim, in person?
It could help Abdul Karim. It could help any other person. Because how do you talk of estopel? You talk of estopel, he has a good case. If the matter is argued on the statehood of Amazonia, as I've said, if you commit a crime, a foreigner in a foreign country, you'll be tried there. But how does it apply here? If Abdul Karim said, and I'm sure I said that, I am Cameroonian. I was caught in Amazonia. You don't. No country is allowed to go to another country, adopt people, and bring to try in their own jurisdiction. If Ambazonian state is established, which I think we should establish it, the people, whatever thing Abdul Karim did, which they think that we them, they have no right to cross and go there and catch him in a foreign country and bring him to Yaoundé to try him. Just like they have no right to pay, go to Nigeria and adopt people in a foreign country and bring them to be tried within their own jurisdiction. That's not allowed. It makes a political sense. But as long as this matter is going before a local court, the local court of appeal in Yaoundé, the local court, maybe the Supreme Court in Yaoundé, I don't know how far it will succeed. It is doubtful, but again, it is a political thing. The fact weights of Yaoundé are as far as Ambazonian is concerned, can succeed. But our support depends so much on the support we get from abroad, from human rights groups, from different around. They say, look, I'm not you. You have a different way. You got your independence on 1st of January. You were not part of it. You got theirs on 1st of You were not part of it. And so you have no reason, even if you sat, if you or me, Sana, or in Buea, or in anywhere in Amazonia, and poured all the insults on Paul Biya, the neighboring president. You have no right to go there and cut that guy. That is also the law. And so that's why they can succeed. But what we're saying is pure speculation. It just shows how the level of to which we have descended. Legality, body in Bamenda, for alleged crimes in Bamenda, and carrying him to trial in Yaoundé. Catching somebody in Nigeria hotel, flying him to be tried in Yaoundé without an extradition request. That's what it is all about. Over to you.
All right. But for those who may just be joining this conversation for the first time and are not duly informed of what this has been, we have some backstory and what the broader implications could be. Barrister Mbeseha, you may just sit behind and see if there is any more thing you'd want to contribute, correct, or adjust in one way or the other. And so this is the background story, just a brief one. Abdul Karim Ali, a prominent voice in the Ambazonian peace movement, previously faced detention without formal charges, drawing attention from human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. His life sentence marks a significant escalation in La Republic de Cameroon's handling of Ambazonian activities. Well, critics argue that trying civilians in military courts violates international human rights standards. So the appeal lodged by Karim's legal team could set a precedent in La Republic de Cameroon's handling of similar cases in the future. As the case moves through the appeals process, it continues to spotlight unresolved issues of governance, citizenships, and justice within La Republic de Cameroon. One would think that is all Ambazonians suffer from. In another sad story, several structures, including homes and shops, have gone in flames at Bakweri Town, Buea, following a massive fire outbreak. Residents desperately try to extinguish the flame using water and sand, as Buea currently lacks a firefighting brigade. Divine Mbeseha and his family endured their third night without a home after a devastating fire on Friday night. Divine left work around 8:30 p.m. and returned only to find the house he had left engulfed in flames. His wife and children, who had been at home, survived, but all of their belongings were lost. What you are seeing in the middle of the ashes is my gas bottle, he said, pointing towards helplessly aimed at the runs. The bottle was the only item that withstood the flames. He explained that on his way home, he received a call that there was a fire incident in his compound, and when he arrived, everything was gone. He said, I am doing odd jobs to survive. My family and I need help. Well, Divine was a tenant in the plank house that was occupied by about 15 persons opposite a field in Bakweri Town. One of the houses that was completely wrecked by fire belongs to the father of a journalist, Daniel Ekome. Daniel was also called to the scene just for him to meet his father's house all in ruins. He explained that his father, who had been at home when the fire started, was rescued and rushed to a neighboring house by those who came to help extinguish the flames. At this point, you'll be asking what's happening to the fire service. Well, the fire completely ravaged the houses, spread to a neighboring block, and partially destroyed its roof. Shops along the roadside were also. However, Goodwill residents from the quarters managed to salvage some items from the shop while owners stood by crying as the fire devoured their businesses. The fire raged for about an hour before residents managed to put it out. There was no fire brigade response, and residents had to find immediate access to water. They struggled to use the few they got, the few liters available from their homes, but it was obviously insufficient. Resulting to sand and stones, they finally contained the fire before it could spread further. It was only after the blaze was extinguished that the colonial police officers arrived to seek information about the incident. Buea, the capital of the Atlantic Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, reportedly has a firefighting brigade, but it remains poorly equipped. Notably, a few months ago, another nearby house also suffered a similar fate. The tragedy at Bakweri Town is the latest in a series of fire incidents plaguing Buea. Just last month, the place of Wocholo in Bondumar near Nibak Secondary School was completely gutted by fire. Despite the best efforts of Good Samaritans to save property, losses worth hundreds of millions of francs CFA were recorded. Before that, several other fires had been reported, particularly affecting houses built with planks. Civil side that people are living in houses built with planks. Rice and Mbeseha. For a long while, we haven't had any reason to record fire incidents. We thought we were done with that era, but that seems to be a thing that is coming back again. Last year, we dealt with some Mbeseha. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now. You see,
Okay.
the
Okay, so
fire
I
incident
was
in
saying that last year it seemed like the fire incident was a regular thing, for every discourse that we had, for every bulletin that we discussed, we had the issue of the fire. But for this year, we haven't had so much of it. But here we have one. But you would note that throughout the report, the fire service was nowhere around the scene.
yes, I listened to that part of the story. What I was trying to say, are you getting me?
Go ahead.
Are you getting me?
Yes, please. Yes,
Are you get?
please. I can get you.
Okay. What I was saying is this: fire fighting equipment and the firefighting department. We are still talking. Are you getting me?
Yes, I can
Are you
get
getting
you. We
me?
can get you. We here in the
Okay. I
studio,
was
we
saying
can
that
get you.
firefighting department is one of the departments that is supposed to. This is Buea. That everybody knows is the capital city of Buea. Buea, they say, was once the capital of German Cameroon. Buea, they say, was once the capital of Southern Cameroon. These are Paul Biya's words. And Paul Biya in 1990 sometimes told us, when you are on the breathe, Cameroon breathes. Because it is Yaoundé now. Capital cities around the world enjoy special privilege. Not because not because the government loves those people in those cities. No, it is because the government has its own people living there. If it is telephone and the telephone is not good, the government officials, the government ministers will not have good telephone. If the water system is bad, they will not have water themselves. If it is electricity, it is not working, they themselves will suffer the consequence. And so this is why capital cities are taken care of. Be it Cameroon in Yaoundé, Buea in Tanzania, London in the UK, Paris in France, Washington DC in America, and you can name the rest. They provide those things by duty because they themselves have to enjoy it. Nobody can imagine that a town like Buea has no firefighting. We don't so much about that government. The ministers, it could be the governors, or be some government official highly placed there, and we're not able to put out the fire. That government official might perish in fire, he with his family. And so this is where the fine print lies. You made a mistake. There's nothing like firefighting equipment in Buea, which is fully equipped. I lived in Buea. There's absolutely nothing there. There's just nothing there. And so, what is the status of Buea? As I said before, in the whole so-called Southwest, they call it, there's a small firefighting department in Limbe, which is reserved purely for their sonora, which is not even functional. That's why in 19 or so now, a poorly equipped one in Kumba. And that's all. And so, why and how should it happen that Buea, the capital city for centuries, and above all, and in particular, the so-called the headquarters of the so-called Southwest, have no firefighting equipment? There's just no explanation for that. Do they lack the money? Certainly not. The money were regional. All the money, most of the money that the government comes from the Southwest. CDC, they come from bottling water in my 29 and shipping it to Yaoundé and other places. Again, bottling water in my 29 is just meters from Yaoundé, from Buea, to drink in Buea. And so that is the question. Government wicked. It's not poor governance, just wickedness. Because those things are available, they can be bought. If they have them, which they don't have, they can be repaired. So what is the explanation for this thing not being there? It is just deliberate neglect. An idea to teach Ambazonians a lesson that you are not part of this system. Otherwise, I think they have more than two in Bafut. They have them in Yaoundé in several places, Douala, and other ones, and there's none in their so-called Buea. What is the excuse for it? Wickedness. I hope the house of Mr. Bila Okali, whatever you call him, gets burnt. But we don't need to get me because he doesn't even live there. He lives in Douala and drives to Buea to work. I hope the one of them, or the super whoever lives there, gets burnt. And then the central issue is, as we talked about insecurity in Bamenda, what are the local politicians saying? Where is Mbelamuki, who is standing on the neck of the Southwest that you cannot have firefighter equipment in that town, Mr. Mbelamuki, the senator? Where is the regional assembly? Where is the House of Chiefs? Where is Tabi Tando? Where is Peter Mosonge, who comes all the way from Buea? Is there an answer to these questions? No. But it is so searching that these people, most of them, in their old ages, they have lived in Buea. They know what Buea is. They don't need to teach Mosonge what Buea was. He's from Buea. You don't need to teach Melamoki, who lives in Buea, what Buea is and what it was. And so if they are keeping a blind eye and clubbing to Yaoundé to come and give them anything, they are wasting their time. This is one of the reasons why we must fight and fight and fight to the end. There's no punishment for this unjustified neglect, for this unjustified thieving, stealing of our own resources for the use of Yaoundé alone. Over to you.
Oh, well, very sad. But that doesn't end where their schemes end. It continues because the colonial government is taking advantage of the difficult living conditions faced by students in Buea, enticing them to support the 92-year-old president of La Republic de Cameroon, Paul Biya's candidacy for the 2025 presidential election. And so, struck with the reality of economic hardship and unable to meet their basic needs, these youths who have been successfully brainwashed by politicians on the other side, they have succumbed to political manipulation and have sided with the colonial government to mortgage their futures for the major sum of 4,000 CFA. In Buea, students from the National School of Public Works and the National Advanced School of Local Administration have been approached to take part in a parade supporting La Republique de Cameroon's President Biya's candidacy. Each student is reportedly being bribed with the amount of 4,000 francs CFA to participate in the demonstration, which is scheduled to take place at the Bongo Square Palace de Fête in Buea. Expected to be led by the Colonial Minister of Secondary Education, Pauline Nalova Younger, this mobilization comes after recent colonial political events, including ceremonies in La Republique de Cameroon's National Assembly and Batwa, a neighboring town in La Republique de Cameroon. There, young students were allegedly used as political tools by the ruling CPDM party. Critics have raised concerns about the ethics of involving students in this way, accusing the BS government of brainwashing the youth for political gain. They accuse those in power of tampering with the integrity of the electoral process and have condemned the exploitation of the vulnerable young people who are just trying to make ends meet. Many have expressed their disappointment against this move, comparing it to a form of election rigging, and have condemned it as corruption, pointing out that the political government is openly buying votes ahead of elections. On their part, experts have described these tactics as a serious affront to democratic values. They believe this has swatted the critical thinking of young voters and has turned them into mere pawns in their political game. No one ignores the issues of corruption within the CPDM and their open mismanagement of resources, while ignoring pressing issues like poverty and unemployment. It is well known that the money offered to students is just a small fraction of taxpayers' money that has been misappropriated by members of the BS administration. Barrister Mbeseha. These are all strategic moves for the 2025 elections. Are you even surprised that students are, used for this when at some point even the women and some mothers will be used for this particular electioneering this seat? Are you surprised that students are used at this point?
No, no, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that students are used in this thing, but I'm surprised that they are still being used in 2025 because, as far as we know, are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, please. Can you hear me? I can
I've said,
get you here.
I say that I'm not surprised that students are being used because students have always been used all the years that we know. But I'm surprised that students are being used in 2025. And most importantly, I'm surprised that the School of Public Works, their students are being used for this exercise. And again, that Paulina Nadova, whose so-called minister, is also being used. Why on these particular ones? Last 2 weeks ago, we had a segment on the public works school in Buea, which the school is in total dilapidation. Their buses are all broken down. There are no toilets in that school. There's absolutely nothing there existing like a school, other than the empty structures. And if these students can be used there, that's what surprises me. But the School of Public Works is not a secondary school where you have children just 14, 15 there. It's a school for full adults, people not less than 21 years old, people older, indeed. And so, if these people allow themselves to be used, should our government for doing it? Should I blame the CPDM? No. We should blame these people. Because if we have anything to learn from history, remember that a certain Ben Muna, who died 4 years ago, I think, out and said, look, the youths, Ambazonians, you have to fight for your own freedom. You fight for it. Freedom is not given to you for nothing. So if you don't stand out to fight, Ben Munawu is dead, ST Munawu is dead. Those of us who are talking right now who are already old will not fight for you. You have to fight for yourselves. And so the students of the public work school and any other school in Buea or anywhere else in Amazonia who allow themselves to be manipulated this way are the ones to be blamed. They cannot claim not to know anything. They know it better than you and me. Remember, I've read the last thing I read. Buea as a town, the university hub, there are so many institutions there. Not just school hubs. They have international schools there, Pan African Institute. They have universities, private and public. So it's full of students. 80% of the population of Buea is probably students and very young, people in their youth. So if they cannot stand up to challenge the status quo, who do they expect to stand up to these things? And that would take me to the so-called Naluba, the minister. This woman, who ordinarily should not be anywhere in public life. In fact, her place is the prison. Supposed to be in jail. Because what we're going through now as torture in Ambazonia was started by that woman, was started by that lady, Rina Naluba, was started by her. She was the director of the University of Buea. And university is a hub for young people. When they stop their fingers to cry against something, he invited the police to come and arrest the girls. She did that. That was what sparked the war. She forgot that in 1970, she was once also in her 20s. She was once a young lady. If she had children, her children were also young. And so she caused the wrath on these children in 2016. That provoke that is ongoing. Should this woman be still available in her? Showing her publicly for anything public? No. If she's doing it, it's simply because she's in Cameroon. Otherwise, place for her is in jail. She should be for her part in what has gone on there. And it's not just corruption, it's more than corruption. When they give money to people to go and give it to the students, 5,000, 2,000, 10,000, we don't even know how much. There's no accountability. There's no receipt. It's a ploy to steal money. If they give you 1 million, go and give it out there. They may give 50,000 out, like pocket the rest. They don't give the money to everybody. And so this is a chain of corruption. It is a chain of a criminal enterprise which should not be allowed to exist. But who will stand up against this? It's not you and me. Those youths, if you don't want to change the country, you will not change yourself. But you have to change yourself in order to change the country. I don't know how many youths watch what is going on in Burkina Faso. They admire Abraham Traore. This is born in 1989. So young. If he's able to do that, what prevents the student in the public work school doing something even in that school? What prevents somebody in the University of Buea, Bamenda, or even the University of Yaoundé taking order into their own hands and changing the country? Are they waiting for somebody to come and fight for them? Are they for Tabita? Are they still waiting for me talking here at my age to come and fight and liberate them? They are wasting their time. They are misplaced. Take the money, but fight. But it will be wrong for you even to take the money. Challenge the status, be it in your institution, the university, or public works, or an ordinary secondary school, or challenge the institution as it exists in the country if you want to have a future. Not doing this, someone else to fight for you. Your time. Again, and fight. So your parents to fight for you. I think that lesson Baimuna gave us before he died remains valid today and tomorrow. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. And yes, on the African scene, we have something about Burkina Faso, which you just mentioned right now. But it's at this point would, allow you to go because tomorrow we definitely need to have you here for a series of analysis that would have from the emerging reports that we'll be having tomorrow. So it's good night from us here to you.
Thank you for me.
You're welcome. So right after the break, we'll talk about the tensions that is arising in Burkina Faso after a foiled coup attempt. The West African nation of Burkina Faso is on high alert following a foiled coup attempt, with tensions running deep within the armed forces a week after the alleged plot was uncovered. The capital city of Ouagadougou remains gripped by uncertainty. A scheduled meeting of senior army officers at the General Staff headquarters was abruptly cancelled due to the absence of invited officers, fueling speculation about divisions within the military. Hundreds of people, including military personnel and families of missing civilians, flocked to the Mogonaba Palace, a revered traditional authority in Burkina Faso. The gathering underscores the growing unease and mistrust within the country. The government, led by the captain Ibrahim Traoré, has called for mass demonstration on the 30th of April to rally public support and condemn perceived Western interference. The move is seen as an effort to bolster Traoré's position amidst this crisis. So the military government announced that it had thwarted a major plot to overthrow Traoré, alleging that the coup plotters had ties to terrorist leaders and were based in neighboring Ivory Coast. Several military officers have been arrested, further straining the already tense atmosphere within the Burkinabe armed forces. The situation in Burkina Faso, for all we know, has severe implications for what is called regional stability, given the country's history of military interventions and ongoing security challenges. And so we'll definitely continue to bring you up to speed with whatever happens. But for all we know, um, he has survived about or above 18 assassinations. How many more will he survive? Oh well. Coming up next is the news across the globe. Oh, well, Canada's recent election appears to have taken a dramatic turn with conservatives under Pierre Poilievre's leadership drawing large crowds to rallies across the country. Their campaign slogan, Bring It Home, resonates with voters, potentially signaling a shift in power. The Liberal Party, led by Mark Carnell's, faced a backlash for warning about the existential threat posed by the US under President Trump. At a rally in London, Ontario, supporters booed Carnell's statement. President Trump is trying to break us so that America could own us, responding with never and waving Canadian flag. Historically, Canadian politics have been dominated by the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party as well. The current electoral system has seen a rise and fall of various parties, including the Progressive Conservative Party, the Reform Party, and Canadian Alliance. Given the recent nature of the election, detailed results aren't yet available. However, key issues that might have influenced voter decisions can include economic policies, patriotism and nationalism, and also leadership, where voters may have been swayed by the leadership styles and visions of Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. For the most up-to-date information on elections, we recommend that you definitely follow us here on ABC Amba TV. Meanwhile, in another development, Russia has agreed to finance the construction of a new nuclear power plant in Iran. This move comes as part of a broader energy cooperation agreement between the two nations, deepening their strategic partnership. So this development occurs against the backdrop of ongoing nuclear talks between Iran and the US, with Tehran asserting its right to enrich uranium. The strengthened partnership between Russia and Iran also reflects their shared interests amid Western sanctions. So the agreement underscores the growing cooperation between Russia and Iran in the energy sector, potentially reshaping the global energy landscape as both nations navigate complex geopolitical relationships. These partnerships may have far reaching implications for global politics. But here we are, ready for all of the drama that would come with every global politics. This is where we draw the curtains on tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the major highlights. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that colonial government forces have murdered local businessman in Bafut. Also tonight, we took a walk at the Abdul Karim's legal team and how they have announced on what they are doing against the life imprisonment by La Republic to Cameroon. Clothing homes and shops have gone in flames at Bakweri Town. Also tonight, we told you that Buea students were tricked to support the Paul Biya's 2025 candidacy. Meanwhile, on the African scene, we went to Burkina Faso where we told you that tensions are on the rise for attempt coup for the Burkina presidency. Also, Russia is to fund new nuclear plants in Iran amid strengthening ties. That's it for tonight Undaunted. Bringing you to the news on top stories. On behalf of the technical team behind tonight's production and our in-house analyst, Barrister Tim Mbeseha, it's good night and God bless.